So my question relates to the issues of the human rights of ethnic groups in Myanmar, such as the Rohingya, the Kachin and the Shan people. The referral of these matters to the ICC, the need for an audit of the peace process, and also the need for the north of Myanmar to be included in the fact-finding mission.
2 minutes.
Thank you, Deputy. Ireland is not currently a member of the UN Security Council and is therefore not in a position to formally offer support on the question of referring Myanmar to the International Criminal Court, although I did meet the Chief Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court last week, and they are assessing the case of the Rohingya in relation to the potential for a prosecution. However, the findings of the Independent International Fact-Finding Mission on Myanmar provide credible evidence that human rights violations amounting to crimes against humanity and war crimes have been committed by members of the Burmese military and other security forces in Rakhine, Kachin and Shan states. The mission's report also finds that there is sufficient evidence of the crimes committed in Rakhine state being so grave that they warrant a competent court to determine the liability for the crime of genocide to those in the military chain of command. Having considered this evidence, Ireland would support the referral by the Security Council of the situation in Myanmar to the ICC. The Security Council is the only competent body that can take this step. However, given the political and legal difficulties that surround such a referral, our focus in ensuring accountability and investigation of the allegations is necessarily elsewhere. We're working closely with international partners in other fora, including the UN Human Rights Council and the EU, to ensure that measures are put in place to allow the investigation of human rights violations and that those who have perpetrated these crimes are held to account. Ultimately, long-standing drivers of tensions between the Buddhist majority and ethnic minority communities in Myanmar must be resolved in order to build a lasting peace. The work done by the Peace Fund in peace-building activities, including reconciliation and research, is to be commended. In particular, their work in capacity building and supporting participation from unrepresented groups is important in building a sustainable and lasting peace across Myanmar. However, I would defer to the Fund's primary donors on financial issues, including the question of an audit.
The remainder will be included in the official report. Time is running short. Deputy O'Sullivan.
I actually raised the issue of the Rohingya for the first time back in 2013, and we just could think of what might have been avoided and what could have been avoided since then. We know it's about political and social inequality, and we know that the peace process, which is funded by the EU and others, is not working. And what has happened is an escalation of violence, military attacks on the various groups, Rohingya, Kachin and Shan, because of their ethnic identity. There's been airstrikes, displacement, IDP camps surrounded by landmines, we've torture, we've rape, we've arbitrary detention. The requests for safe passage have been denied. Humanitarian assistance is not getting through. Over 200 Christian churches have been destroyed recently, and we have many examples of hate speech, and it's all coming from a systematic, organised, ultra-nationalist government that's supported by some 29 political parties. And even when there was a fragile peace process with the Kachin people, it was violated repeatedly. I think it's time to acknowledge that the peace process is not working and that the funding could be better used. So it is to support, asking Ireland to support the calls to acknowledge that it's not working, the need for a transparent, genuine dialogue and process with people that will include civil society.
1 minute.
I share your frustration with what to do about it is the question. And we are trying to use all of the tools at our disposal that we can influence, whether they be UN bodies, whether that's the Human Rights Council. We are encouraging members on the UN Security Council to refer. I've made it very clear that we would support the referral to the ICC, and as I said, I commented on the issue directly with the Chief Prosecutor of the ICC in New York last week. So, I share your frustration. These issues should not happen. They should be predicted in advance. Myanmar has been a divided country in terms of ethnic minorities, some of whom I visited in Kachin State, long before I was a minister, when I was an MEP, and even then, the brutality of the military towards Indigenous minorities was a significant issue. We will continue to pursue the kind of agenda that you're outlining here today, and we'll continue to look for fora to do that effectively in.
Sullivan.
Thank you. I think the fact-finding mission, the 440 pages, was extremely damning. I mean, some of the quotes from the people: the most serious human rights violation, crimes of the highest order under international law, and from the chairman, it was hard to fathom the level of brutality. So I think this is about the credibility of both the EU and the UN. So Ireland, you'll be at the next meeting of foreign ministers of the EU, so I think the question could be raised there about the peace process not working. There's also the issue with Bangladesh and the repatriation of the Rohingya, and a recent memorandum of understanding that was signed between Myanmar, Bangladesh and UN agencies. There was no consultation with the Rohingya people. There wasn't even a mention of the word, nothing about restoration of their citizenship. And the same UN agencies had been previously involved in repatriation in the 70s and 90s, which hadn't been done right, which has led to the Rohingya being stateless today. So I do think our voice is respected, Minister, you know that yourself. So I think Ireland being that voice of both the EU and the UN and standing up for these rights of these minority peoples, because this is ethnic cleansing. And the authorities, 1948, when independence is coming, they did promise ethnic equality, but it didn't happen.
In relation to the IIFFM, it did present its report in advance of the 39th session of the Human Rights Council, including an examination of the situation in the northern part of Myanmar, in particular in the states of Kachin and Shan. In addition, the resolution on the adopted session encompassed a resolution on Myanmar as an entire country. So, I mean, I think there are many, Ireland is among them, who want to see justice for the Rohingya people who have been literally driven out of their own state.
Must move on.
And the demands are clear for repatriation, but also protection and accountability for the crimes that have taken place.